The following is a presentation of Puska Media Services. Welcome to the Sports Hub Network, an inside look at world of all sports featuring interviews with the newsmakers to tell and share their stories. Now here is your host, Dennis J. Puska.
Welcome to our first companion episode of the Sports Hub, formerly the Sports Hub Network. It is great to have you with us. I'm Dennis J. Puska. Well, in the past, we have always brought you audio episodes of this program as a great source to learn more of what's going on in the world of sports and lifestyle. Well, now we've taken this show one step further. On special editions of it, we are going to bring you companion episodes. That means you can either catch us on audio only through the Podomatic app, or now you're going to be able to get us on video. And you'll be able to find us on our website at puskamediaservices.com and wherever you get your podcasts on video, including YouTube page at Puska on Pucks. So make sure you like and follow our page and keep track for updates when we have new videos that are posted. Now, coming up on our first edition of Season 3, we have got a great interview for you. We're going to be catching up with Kapuskasing Moonbeam native Guy Girouard, who was a tremendous hockey player when he was younger. Boy, did he ever have tremendous success. He went to play for North Bay Pine Hill AAA Midgets. He also moved on to the Hamilton Steelhawks of the Ontario Hockey League, York University and Canadian University Hockey, as well as playing overseas in Germany and in the old Central Hockey League with the Oklahoma City Blazers. And now Guy Girouard is actually coaching. He's in the Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League with the Charlottetown Islanders. And the Islanders are having a phenomenal year so far, doing very well. Now, we caught up with Guy while he was on a major road trip through the province of Quebec. We caught him in the Victoriaville, Sherbrooke area as he made his way as far as Rouyn-Noranda and Val-d'Or. Yes, that was as far as he was going to get to home. Guy Girouard is a phenomenal person, great guy to catch up with and learn more. So we're looking forward to bringing you that interview in its entirety, and you will enjoy it, that is for sure. We've also got an update for you on someone who is very close to Guy Girouard. That is his nephew, Hogan Blais. Now, on Season 2 of the Sports Hub Network, we had a long interview with Hogan Blais, and we talked about his golfing career and the fact that he did commit to West Virginia University in the Big 12 Conference on a golf scholarship. Well, last week, it was National Letter of Intent Day, NLI south of the border, and he signed his National Letter of Intent, and now officially he'll be headed to golfing at West Virginia University. That is pretty impressive right there. Now, Hogan Blais is the son of Mark and Sonia Blais. Sonia Blais is actually Guy Girouard's sister, so that is how all that is tied together. Mark Blais was a pretty remarkable hockey player when he was younger. Now he's involved in real estate and golf. His dad was a longtime business person at Cap Furniture Fashions. Loved catching up with him whenever I could. So it was great catching up with them. Now, if you missed that interview, head over to our website at puskamediaservices.com. Click on Season 2 of the Sports Hub Network, and at the very top of the page is my extended interview with Hogan Blais. We hope you'll take time and listen to it. It was a lot of fun putting it together. Again, Hogan, congratulations on your NCAA Division I scholarship to West Virginia University, golfing in the Big 12 Conference. We know you will enjoy that. That is for sure. Now, over on our Season 3 audio premiere of the Sports Hub, we've also got more discussion about the World Series that just concluded between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yes, friends, it was a tremendous series between both of those teams. Now, experts at the beginning didn't think the Jays were going to get very far. In fact, some only gave them an opportunity to maybe win one game at the most, while the Blue Jays proved all doubters wrong as the Jays were able to extend it to 7 games. And in fact, we're up 3 games to 2 heading back to Toronto for Game 6 and Game 7 of that series. How wild was that? And then we all know what happened. The Jays had a great fall classic and just came oh so close to winning it all, especially in front of their fans. But the Los Angeles Dodgers, with that big payroll spent, and they certainly made the most of it, that is for sure. For the Toronto Blue Jays, well, friends, they have got a lot of work to do in the offseason. They've got some signings to take care of, including Bo Bichette, and we understand that Bichette wants to come back to Toronto, and the Jays want him back. Now they've got to work out contract and money issues, of course. But the Jays also need to do something about their bullpen, find another closer to go along with Jeff Hoffman, and also while they're in there too, maybe find some mid-relief guys who can make a difference there. So we're going to see all what happens with that in the offseason of Major League Baseball. As I said, head over to our audio edition of the Sports Hub, and you can hear my comments about the World Series on there. I think you will enjoy that. Well, friends, let's head to our feature interview of our program, and that is my conversation with Guy Girouard, a native of Moonbeam, actually, calls Kapuskasing home. That's why I say Kapuskasing Moonbeam native. You see, Guy Girouard cut his teeth on the outdoor rinks with his dad in Moonbeam, and then made his way to Kapuskasing, where he played hockey there and was a really amazing hockey player in his youth. And the rest, as I mentioned earlier, is history. Great success at the junior level with North Bay Pine Hill AAA Midgets. That, of course, is U18 or midget hockey, where the team won the Air Canada Cup Championship. And then, of course, he moved on to the Hamilton Steelhawks, playing for Bill LaForge. He played for former Kapuskasing resident Graham Wise at York University, and then went to the Oklahoma City Blazers of the former Central Hockey League, where he did quite well there. He actually had his number retired. How cool is that? And they went over to Bremerhaven in Germany and really enjoyed his time there. So Guy Girouard, great player there. Then he got into coaching, helped out at Rockland for a little bit, did a lot of work with that. And then he got involved in the Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League. And as we're going to hear in the interview, got involved with a friend, a former teammate, and now he is the associate coach and assistant general manager with the Charlottetown Islanders of the QMJHL. And boy, the Islanders are off to a great start this season, playing very well, and we'll see if they can carry that throughout a very long junior season. So without further ado, let's spend some time with the one and only Guy Girouard from Moonbeam and Kapuskasing and our extended interview on the Sports Hub. Here you go. Welcome back to our show, and I'm thrilled to have spent some time with a guy that I know very well. He's from my hometown, and I've kind of followed his career since he was really young. We're talking about Guy Girouard, who's now an assistant coach with the Charlottetown Islanders of the Quebec Maritimes Hockey League. They're in Drummondville, Quebec, getting ready for a game tonight, and Guy joins us on Zoom. Guy, thanks for taking time to do this. It's great to catch up again.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'll enjoy the chat for sure.
Did you ever think, as a kid growing up, you could still be doing this hockey gig and, what you've kind of accomplished since you left Kapuskasing so many years ago?
Well, I mean, when you're that young, you're just thinking about today and, you just want to keep playing hockey and hope to play at the highest level possible. So that's kind of was the way I think I remember it. I just was happy spending as much time as possible at the rink, just loving it, trying to get better. And then, I think I'm very fortunate to, at 58, to still be working in the game and making a living at it and, still enjoy it. We talked before we went on air about the long bus rides, but they still haven't gotten to me yet. So I'll keep doing it as long as I'm having fun. And it's definitely a lot of fun working with these kids, especially when, like this year, we're having a winning season. So it makes it a lot easier to get in that bus and travel home.
Well, when you talk about long bus rides and long travel, you grew up in Kapuskasing. So doing those long bus rides is something that you know very well, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of times it wasn't in the bus, it was in the parents' car, and our entertainment was drawing pictures in the frost in the windows. And so it's a lot easier now with the phones and the tablets and everything, but anyways, it's always fun traveling for hockey or doing anything for hockey.
So look back as a kid growing up at your time at the Sports Palace. Your dad was involved, obviously, and several coaches. But take us back to when you were a kid in Kapuskasing and growing up to doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, it all started in Moonbeam actually, because we didn't move to Cap until I was in grade 3, I believe. So, my dad used to be involved in taking care of the outdoor rink in Moonbeam, and so I was on the ice. As long as he would take me to the rink, I would go to the rink and skate as long as I could or play in the road. So that was always fun. And then we moved to Cap, and right around the time they built the Sports Palace. So, when we first moved to Cap, we rented the first house. There was the arena, there was the Pepsi plant, and then that's the house that we rented. So I spent a lot of time, was able to walk on my own. When we had days off school, I would just hang around and until the guys would let me go on the ice, or Nick Ruckavina at the time, he always let me go on, and having played some professional hockey himself, he would give me some pointers. And, I was fortunate that the people in Cap, supported us young hockey players and let us take advantage of the free ice that we had. And then as far as coaches, I wouldn't even know where to start. There were so many good guys, from playing novice hockey right up to midget. I had Vern Aljo, Conrad Grenier, Ron Johnson, Jed Alec, Gilbert Gagnon, Real Saint-Onge. I'd hate to forget anybody, but a lot of people that helped us out, and then a lot of the former pros that were around back playing for the Cap A's or working in the mill or the city, that were also available, like Dean Chiramata, and those guys are great examples. Greg Ravel, which is in Halifax, and I'm still in touch with him. So, it's nice to have all those stories about all those guys. And, was fortunate enough to grow up in a small town where we were supported, and hockey was a really important part of life. So,
when did you think that this hockey thing would actually go somewhere? Like you basically, I think Butch Turcotte, when you're with North Bay Pine Hill, kind of maybe started the other ball rolling. But when did you say, realize that, hey, we've got something here?
I don't know. That's hard to say. Just kind of coming from a small town up north, I think you don't really realize where you stand in the big picture with all these other players. We're always intimidated by the big city players like North Bay and then Toronto and those big centers. I think just probably when I even making it to the OHL, we won the Air Canada Cup there. I had a really good tournament. That helped me to get drafted in the OHL. And until I actually signed my first year, I really didn't think that, or I was a little bit intimidated by it, I guess I could say, and never thought I could play. And then we start playing, and then, having some success and being able to play with those guys. So I think maybe it started sinking in when I was in the OHL. That's probably a good time.
When I think about as well, one of your highlights has got to be, playing for North Bay, the AAA program, and Don Butch Turcotte, and winning the Air Canadas. That had to be something that you think back of as a pretty neat moment that took place.
Yeah, it was for sure. I mean, kind of fortunate the way it happened. I was actually going to go to North York for a tryout in Junior A, and I ended up playing a tournament with Butch in the summer because we used to always go to his hockey schools. And I broke my foot or my ankle in the tournament, so I was going to miss the tryouts. And that's when he said, well, why don't you come play for us? And that's kind of what got the ball rolling. I was billeted with Brent Bywater's mom. Lived just down the street from Butch, so he would pick me up to go to school every day. We had a wood pile as a fundraiser. We sold firewood, so since I drove with the coach, I was stuck going to the wood pile every day. But that's kind of what I grew up doing in Kapuskasing. So the guys would all go to the gas splitters, and I would just take the axe and go on my own and split some wood. So that was a great experience for us. We went to Europe that year. We traveled to Sweden, Finland, and Russia. Still talk to a lot of these guys. It's, when you win as a group, you're friends for life. And, we've had a couple of reunions over the years, so it's been nice to have that for sure.
Well, you've played in the OHL. You're now coaching in the Quebec Maritime Hockey League. How different is it? Do you shake your head sometimes and see how different life is when you played?
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, times are different now. The players are catered to a lot more than we were. I had the guy that drafted me was Dave Draper, who was a great gentleman, and then he went on to just manage, and then hired Bill LaForge, who has a storied career, which his son is now in the Western League as a GM with the team that I've talked to. But some of the stuff that we did back then you couldn't do today. Like hockey's come such a long ways, and as far as the coaching and the education that we have as coaches, and the everything that we have to our disposition as far as analytics and video, like we spend so much time on our computer just watching a video, either analyzing our last game, or analyzing the shifts from our players, or looking forward to the next team. Like our league has a cloud account that we have to share all video with markings on it. So the system that we use, like I can go on and I can check, like, for example, we're playing Sherbrooke tonight. So, within 5 minutes, I have all their power plays or their penalty killing, because I take care of the power play as well. So I coach the defenseman and run the power play. So I can have access to all that information in minutes. And then, we cut that down and try to make a 2-3 minute video to show our players, to prepare them. Analytics numbers tell us their tendencies, what they like to do, if they like to dump the puck, if they like to carry it in the zone, how they play defensively. So the game has advanced so much. So as far as coaches, we have so much information, and it's our job to kind of reduce that and try to convey it to the players in a way that they're going to understand, or best understand. And then hopefully once the game starts, we've kind of done our job, and it's up to the players to perform.
I'm sure the players probably kid you when you talk about your time back in the OHL, and you're playing with the equipment you played with back then, and you see what they have now is even amazing in the way the sticks are made and the way the equipment's made, and how the players are protected now as opposed to back then when we were kids growing up.
Yeah, it's crazy. Man, I still have the gloves from my Air Canada Championship, and they pretty much go up to my elbows, and they weigh a ton, and the palm in it is so thick that you could barely feel the sticks. So now, even like, I was kind of resisting as an old guy. I hadn't had new skates in 15 years, and they finally broke down, and they ordered me a pair this year. And I was surprised how comfortable they are. And, I almost feel like I could play again. I'm just kidding. But, it's kind of, the equipment is so good. You get a new pair of gloves, you wear them right away. You don't have to break them in. So, it's unbelievable the way that, or how far the game has come, and it's advancing every day. Obviously there's a cost associated with that, but that's part of running a junior franchise.
And there you go. So you've played all over the world, and for a while there, you played in Oklahoma City for our coach, well-known Mr. Doug Sauter. Talk about your time in Oklahoma City. You've got a banner with your name on it. That was done. You were in the old Central Hockey League. Some pretty amazing times back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had just finished playing 4 years at York University for Graham Wise, who was another Cap connection. And, the Central League was just starting up again, and I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do, just graduated. And so he suggested I go try it out. He had heard some good things about it from back in his days. So I figured I had nothing to lose. I had no student debts. I was fortunate that Hamilton and the OHL paid for my university. So I really had nothing to lose to go try it for, I was just going down there for a tryout. Didn't know if I was going to make the team or anything. So turned out to be 3 great years that I played over there. I had Mike McEwen as my first coach, who was a Stanley Cup winner with the Islanders, Islanders were my team growing up. So I was a little bit in awe of that. So that was nice to have. And then from there, I played 2 years and then went to Germany for 6 years. Ended up coming back for one more year, and that's when Doug Sauter was there. So, he was just a motivator. I'd been in the game for a long time. Simple guy, like he wore roping gloves on the ice, the brown leather gloves. Just had the big mustache and was a big personality. So, he let us. We had a really old veteran team. That's the year we won the championship, and he pretty much let us not do what we want, but he had some guidelines, but he let us, gave us a lot of freedom, and he gave the leaders a lot of freedom to have our say and how the team was going to play, and it turned out pretty good.
And the thing about it too is hockey down there, especially in Oklahoma City at the time, was absolutely incredible, wasn't it? Like the crowd support was amazing.
Yeah, I think the one year we outdrew the Hartford Whalers and the New York Islanders, so it was awesome. They just love the crashing and the banging and the fighting, and I tell people within the 60-mile radius, we were probably treating as good as a Montreal Canadiens player. I had a vehicle that I was driving for free. We were doing these TV commercials, making these appearances and at all these places, signing autographs. So it was really surreal for us, thinking like we're playing in the lower professional leagues, but to be treated that way. So I think if you're gonna, have some fun and play in the minors, Oklahoma City was definitely the place to play.
Did you ever think you'd want to do coaching? How did you get involved with that?
As a player, I always stayed involved. I enjoyed working with the younger players. I remember in Hamilton, Dennis Vial, a kid from Sault Ste. Marie, was a big, rugged defenseman who came to us as a 15-year-old. I was 19 at the time, so I enjoyed working with him after practice and try to get him along. And he ended up getting drafted and had a pretty good career in the NHL. So that's something that I always had. I always liked working at hockey schools. I grew up going to Butch Turcotte's hockey schools and eventually being a counselor and being able to coach there. So learned from a lot of great people there. And then my time in Europe, in Germany, there wasn't much of a initiation program. So I decided to take it upon myself to trying to get that going. So spent a lot of time with the kids and enjoyed being with the fans and the little kids. So that kind of stuck with me. So when I stopped playing, I had a chance to coach. I lived in Rockland, Ontario, and something had happened. I wasn't planning on coaching, but something happened. The coach had to leave, and they needed a coach for the midget AA team. And I said I'd help out. And then from there, I went on to coach the junior C, and then ended up helping out at Ottawa U, and went to an academy in Rockland. And then a former teammate of mine at York University, Jim Hulton, who's the head coach here in Charlottetown and GM. We were roommates for 2 years, so we stayed in touch over the years. And I tried a couple times maybe to work somewhere. It never really worked out. So when he called me that he had a chance to work a chance for a spot for me to help him in Charlottetown, I jumped at the chance, and here we are 10 years later.
Wow, 10 years in Charlottetown. What's the atmosphere like there? And everybody says it's such a beautiful place, and I'm sure to be at a beautiful place, but to coach hockey, the game you love, and the Quebec Maritime League's got to be pretty amazing. And now you add St. John's to the mix as well.
Yeah, I know we have really good fan support in Charlottetown. I think we average close to 2,500. So, and I compare, PEI in general to Northern Ontario. People are so friendly, very welcoming. When I moved into my house, the neighbor brought over some muffins. Like, it's just small town mentality. Charlottetown's population's maybe close to 45,000 now, I think. I'm not too sure. The island itself is only 185,000. So, to go anywhere, there's not a lot of traffic. The scenery is beautiful. The great golf courses. So it kind of works well with the hockey. I get to play golf all summer, and the traveling isn't really that bad. I mean, we have some rough trips, but we just play the Quebec teams once every year, one home and home. So we come to, we're moving on to Rouen and Val-d'Or this weekend. We just do this trip once. And like you said, having St. John's, Newfoundland into the mix was great. We were there the second weekend of the year. I'd never been there, so that was a great experience just to see that country a little bit. We didn't get to see a lot of sightseeing, but we did get to George Street and got to celebrate my birthday, so it was a successful trip.
There you go. So what's your favorite place to go to in the queue on the road?
Yeah, Quebec City, it's an NHL building with the Videotron Center. It's a great place. I always obviously like coming to Gatineau because I like a lot of friends and family in Ottawa. And when I get to Rouen, I usually get a couple friends or family that come and visit. So those places are always nice to go.
When was the last time you were home in Kapuskasing? How long has it been?
Geez, I think that was in 2009. I did a coaching course in Thunder Bay, and I remember driving through and dropping off my two girls at my cousin's place, going up there for the week and then coming back. So it's been quite a while. I keep wanting to go back, and I still have a lot of friends and family there, but it's just such a long trip. And with my parents living in Ottawa now, then it's kind of there wasn't a lot of reasons for me to get up to Kapuskasing.
Talk about your thoughts about Cap and what it means to you. You're still a Kapuskasing boy, now Charlottetown via Ottawa as well. But what does Kapuskasing mean to you?
Yeah, well, I think it's always going to be a special place in my heart. You know, it's a great place to grow up as a kid. You know, there's something there for everybody. Sports are a big part of the community, which is a big part of my life and my dad's life, my family. So, you know, I think it's always be a special place. And, you know, when you see somebody from Cap or somebody from up north, then there's an automatic connection. You know, you can talk to them and you can share stories, or there's always somebody that you have in common that you knew or that you ran to. So it's always nice to run into people from Cap, and I always love chatting with them.
Do you get a chance to follow any of the kids that have come out of Kapuskasing and come out of the North region when it comes to hockey?
Yeah, well, I always try to keep an eye on things. So, like, we did have Brendan Clavel with us in Charlottetown. He ended up being a captain for us. So, you know, obviously I had some connections with his mom and dad, knew them growing up. So I knew they were great athletes. They were a great family. So it always makes it easy. Sometimes it's a little bit tougher to bring kids to the Quebec League because they have to go, there's a process that has to happen, and they have to first play within Ontario. Then if they don't get that chance, then we can get them once they become 17 years old or 18. They have to go through 2 drafts basically. So sometimes it doesn't always work out, but I always try to keep my ear on the ground for people from up north and give them a chance if we can.
Talk about your family and your parents and how much they've meant in terms of this journey that you've been on.
Yeah. Sorry about that. It's a bit of a tough one. Now we just recently lost my mom, so no, obviously a huge part of my life. You know, my dad was a great example. You know, played every sport, was always involved with the teams that I played in, and my mom was always in the background, you know, making sure we had food and getting us to places, and you know, they were instrumental, and to this day, they still are.
That's pretty amazing. You know, the emotions you show about, you know, what it means and what family means to who you are and how they brought you up, who you are today. Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. They gave me all the values, and you know, they're great to my 2 girls, and I know you've had an interview with Hogan Blay as well. You know, his is my daughter's son, so they were great for him as well. In Ottawa, he had a lot of golf tournaments and baseball and hockey, and as long with his grandparents, Herman and Rose Blay, who have left us as well. You know, they were great. No questions asked. They did what they had to. You know, my dad worked his 8 hours at the mill and then had the skate shop at the rink or in the garage at home. So just to make sure that, you know, we had everything we needed. So they're special people.
That's for sure. Now, I remember you playing over the years. You went through different, we talked about equipment earlier. You wore Cooperalls for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. They're great. I still wish I had them. They made me look kind of slim. No, but they were like, and like I said, we always had the best. You know, we had when I remember when the Dows came out, which they're coming out again, you know, with the clear tuck blades. Whatever the new stuff came out, my dad always find a way to get it to me. And we always had the good sticks with Ron Saint-Aubin, Luke Saint-Aubin's dad. He always had access to pro stock sticks at the time, which were great. So he used to sell those out of his shed there. So yeah, we always had the best of everything. And with the skate shop there, my dad having the skate shop, then never had to worry about my skates being sharp. That's for sure.
Well, there you go. And I think one of the neat things, Guy, you'll attest to this, is about the sticks nowadays. The sticks are, you know, carbon fiber made of everything but the kitchen sink. In the old days, for wooden sticks, if you had to put the curve, you better do it right or you break the stick, and then you got to start from scratch again.
Yeah, exactly. It was always a touchy situation. So now you don't have to worry about that. And like the shots that the kids have today are amazing with that technology. So once they learn how to use it, it's a great advantage for them.
Guy, talk a little bit about the Charlottetown Islanders this year and how things are going in the Quebec Maritimes Hockey League.
Yeah, well, so far we're off to a great start. We're first in the league right now. You know, we lost in the league finals would be 4 years ago now. So when you go for it all, it's always a tough rebuild. You sell all your young assets to have players that are ready to play now. So we're finally coming out of it now. It was a tough 3 years for us in Charlottetown, but I think we've come through better, and our players had some great experiences. And we have a great leadership group. We have a great core, and the team. You always tell when it's a good team how they enjoy being together, and they spend a lot of time at the rink. They enjoy being there. They work hard, and we're excited to what the rest of the season is going to bring.
When I look at Charlottetown and I look at the Quebec Maritime Hockey League, talk about the hockey, compare it to maybe what people might see in the OHL or the WHL. Give us kind of a comparison if people are going to turn it on for the first time.
Yeah, it's hard to say because there's not a lot of interleague play, but there was always in the old days, it was always that the Quebec League was just a totally offensive league, and no defense was played. But now I think, all three leagues are pretty even. We've come a long ways, it's hard for me to say that. I wasn't around back in the day, but, we just basically, our philosophy here is and most of the teams are the same. Whatever works in the NHL, you try to replicate and do the same thing here. Right now, the Florida Panthers are the flavor of the month, and they have some big physical defensemen. They just work hard. They're in your face. So that's kind of our mentality here. We want to be a team that's hard to play against. We want to grind teams down on the forecheck. Get their defensemen to turn around and go get pucks. And we have big defensemen. I think we have one defenseman that's under 6 feet, and he's our quarterback on the power play. So, we're tough to play against. We have great goaltending, and we'll wear you down on the forecheck. So, we're excited, and I think we're built for playoffs. We'll make a couple of tweaks here at the deadline to see what we need or see what can take us over the top, and then we'll go from there.
And now the access of having games available on pay-per-view, whether through Flow Hockey or other apps, it's amazing now, isn't it, how people can get access and watch the games and keep track of things.
Yeah, it is. It's a great tool for parents and families and general hockey fans. So, I think, like you said, everything's available. There's all these, podcasts and talk shows on radios and stuff. So there's so much information out there for the fans to be informed and to be up on the latest stuff. So it's exciting for sure.
Before we let you go, your favorite hockey memory as a player, maybe, or as a kid growing up. What are a couple of your favorite memories?
Geez, that's a tough question. Definitely, like my time on the outdoor rinks, whether it was in Moonbeam or Kapuskasing, that was always a fun time just to be out there and playing for free. Or, not worrying about anything else but trying to keep warm, and how long
it was 40 when it was 40 below, and
how long you're going to be able to stay out there until your parents came and got you. But that was always a fun time, just playing road hockey in the streets with the neighbors. That was a great time as well. Obviously the Air Canada Cup was a big moment. I was fortunate enough to win a championship in Oklahoma City, which was great as well. Won that championship on home ice. And then won the championship in Germany in the first division. So championships are always special. They always stay in your mind. But just in general, all the experiences. I always tell people, I'm a small town kid from Moonbeam, Ontario. If they know where that is, grew up just speaking French, and through hockey, it just got me to, learn English. I'm fluent in German as well from having spent my time there. Paid for my education. I travel the world. So, I always tell my players, because the statistics show that, one or two guys per year will make it in the NHL. So just try to use hockey as a vehicle to get the most out of it. I never got the big $1 million contracts in the NHL, but, speaking 3 languages, having all these contacts throughout the world and having traveled the world, you can't put a price tag on that.
So do the kids bug you? You know, where you have to point on the map where your hometown is, where you're from?
Yeah, well, I kind of tell them that we're still 3.5 hours from Rouyn-Noranda, so they know it's pretty cold.
Well, there you go. That's awesome. Guy, it's been a privilege to spend some time with you, my friend. Thanks for catching up. I hope things are well, and we want to make sure that, you know, we want to thank you for everything that you've done, and thanks for spending time with us, and all the best this year in the Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League with the Charlottetown Islanders.
Thanks, Dennis. Appreciate it, and congrats on all your successes as well.
Thank you. And welcome back to our show. Again, I want to say a very special thank you to Guy Girouard for taking time from his road trip as they made their way through Quebec to join us to talk more about his career. Now, I followed Guy, his hockey career, ever since he was very young in youth, and then moving on to North Bay, and then through Hamilton and York, and of course into Germany and Oklahoma City. And it was certainly fun to catch up with him, renew some of the great moments of his career, see how he's doing now. Of course, he got very emotional talking about his family, about his mom who he lost recently, and they are wonderful people, the Girouards. I've had a chance to get to know him over the years. His dad, outstanding as well, and we're thinking about Guy and his family. And again, thank you, Guy, for taking time again to join us. Again, you can also catch this interview over on our website in audio form at PuskaMediaServices.com and wherever you get your podcasts, and we've had fun putting that part together. Well, we've got another companion episode coming up in episode 2. We're going to be catching up with author Dan Robson, who recently completed a book called Hammered, all about Dave the Hammer Schultz. Yes, he was a tough guy during the Broad Street Bully days of the Philadelphia Flyers. Well, Dave Schultz had quite a life growing up, and it's really caused him to have some demons and things that he's not happy with. And the book really goes into a lot of details and how he got involved in fighting and how all that came about. Dan Robson was really forthright in the interview and how he prepared the book and how him and Dave Schultz developed quite a relationship putting it together. And we're looking forward to catching up with Dan Robson in episode 2 of our show. And again, you'll be able to follow it both on audio and video edition. You can pick your choice and choose the way you want to listen to it right there. Well, friends, that is going to do it for this special edition of the Sports Hub and our first companion episode and my conversation with Guy Girouard. Again, we thank you for being with us. And again, don't forget to check out our episodes on the Northern Corridor Podcast Network, whether it is Between the Bay and the Bench with your MPP Guy Bourgoin, or our other show, All Jacked Up, the official podcast of the Hearst Lumberjacks. Those are both audio episodes that you can check out at PuskaMediaServices.com, and again, wherever you get your podcasts. For Guy Girouard and all of us here, I'm Dennis J. Puska. Be good, stay out of trouble. I'll try to do the same. And until next time, this has been a video edition of the Sports Hub. God bless. Good night, Dick. Bye for now.
You have been listening to the Sports Hub Network, a reoccurring podcast featuring unique topics in the world of sports. For more, visit PuskaMediaServices.com. This has been a 2025 Studio 29 DP production.